Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Step into the sand.
This is Macabre Grimoire with Ari Show, Travis Nye, and Robert Mehling.
Hey everyone, welcome to Macabre Grimoire, Chapter 6, Sideshow, Gaff, and Rogue Taxidermy. What is a gaff? No.
In the magic community, a gaff is something very different, so that's why I was intrigued by the word of gaff.
In magic, gaff is like a mistake, right?
No, it's actually a hidden item that the audience sees but don't know it's trickery.
Oh,
like a
okay.
hidden utility, like a James Bond device, an exploding stick of gum.
Interesting. I'm so confused. So, lay the scene for me. Like, what do you mean?
Lay the scene. I hand you a rustic piece of pencil lead.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Okay, yeah.
With a tea-dyed piece of parchment paper.
Okay.
And I have you write something down.
Okay.
You fold it up.
Okay.
What you don't know is that pen just electronically sent me the signal to tell me what it is you wrote down.
What? Oh my god. Do you want to know what word I wrote down?
Yes.
Boobs.
That's correct.
Nice. Well played. Well, today we're talking about, in case you haven't guessed, sideshows, gaff, and rogue taxidermy. Taxidermy is not my thing.
No.
But my dad's he's not into like actually making taxidermy, but he has a lot of mounted animals in his home. So
now, is he a hunter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
No, he just likes dead animals around. I don't know why.
You know, my stepdad has a taxidermied albino ringneck pheasant. And it's the one thing that he actually has taxidermied. Otherwise, because he hunts a lot. Yep. Otherwise, that's like the only thing that he has. And I'm kind of like, because when my mom married a hunter, I was like, oh yeah, there's going to be like dead animals everywhere. But that's the only one. And it's not even like displayed in like a part of the house where everybody can see it. It basically greets you in the basement.
Yep. It's a basement thing at our house too. Dad has his own bar in the basement, and that is like his gallery for all things mounted, so they're all crammed in there. At one point, Jay shot a third elk in Custer State Park, and those are like monstrous, like something you only hang in Cabela's, so they take up like a quarter of a room.
Yeah.
And so he really tried hard to talk Mom into breaking the rule that none are allowed above the threshold of the basement, and it didn't happen.
Shoot.
Is it actually in the basement?
Oh, yeah.
I'm impressed it's fit in the basement, or like got to the basement.
Yeah, the reason my dad, side story here, my dad's old drinking buddy back in the day was in a wheelchair, and so when he built this house, he built a basement entrance. So there's like a patio door and a big stamped cement pad, and so it's really easy to move stuff in and out of that basement, because it opens right into the bar.
I would have really liked to see them try to get a moose down the stairs.
The stairs of Mom and Dad's house, you could do it.
Yeah.
You'd just be figuring out what door you'd bring it in. I still don't know how they brought it in even through like a normal-sized patio door.
Right.
How wide is it?
My goodness.
The antlers itself have got to be...
Yeah, it's huge. It's
like
like
5 feet.
It'd be my like moving an L couch that doesn't like separate in the middle. So they probably had to like carefully
angle
it through, and like move one part through and then step through and then move the other.
Oh, wow.
They're like the size of a small camel. Like, those things are huge.
Jeez.
They are massive, and these Custer State Park ones are like exceptionally huge, because you can only, I forget how that works. There's a lottery for them, and you can only hunt them
10 years.
Is it?
Yeah,
every 10 years?
because my stepdad, his came up one year when they first.
Is that just common knowledge? Like, how did you just know that?
Because my stepdad, he's a hunter, so when they first got together, my mom and my stepdad, he was like, okay, I got my elk license, just can't, like, I need to go hunting for elk, and it was like some big weekend or whatever. And my mom was like, no, and then he's like, you don't understand, like, I will never get this chance again. So mom's like, all right, so he went and he stayed there until he got his elk, and then he just went bear hunting up in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Just recently too, and that's another thing where it's pretty rare if you get to go bear hunting. So
yeah, it depends on where.
It does.
Because like Like, my brother and dad figured out that, because, like, hunting is really valuable here in South Dakota, if you've got, like, good pheasant hunting like we do. So they actually do an exchange thing where they let people, they trade off. And actually, they've done a whole bunch of, like, crazy trips from it.
Yeah?
They got to go, I think, is it salmon fishing in the Columbia River in Washington? Like, the gigantic salmon and, like, right out on the, like, that you need the special permits for and everything. And they got to do that, and that was, like, a life-changing experience for him and my brother Jay. And, what was something else they exchanged? Oh, they went... I want to say they went, like, fishing for some big kind of, like, exotic fish in Alaska.
Oh.
And that was a trip they traded for hunting. And I know Jay's done that once for bear hunting in northern Minnesota, but they got skunked on that one.
Shoot. Wait, like, literally skunked?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
They just didn't
They
anything.
did not see any bears.
Shoot. Because I know, like, when my stepdad went to go bear hunting, he had to stay in, like, cement cabin. So, like, all the walls of the cabin are made out of cement so that the bears can't smell you.
Probably mainly like a liability thing also.
Yeah.
Oh, God, where was that at?
It was up in, I don't know, up Canada somewhere.
Okay.
And then Mom sends us a text message picture of Dave getting his bear, and I go, oh, ew, yay. Because I'm not, like, a dead animal kind of person.
Yeah.
Well, they probably didn't want to send a picture while I was still alive.
Probably not.
I don't think they have that much time.
So
Look, here it is, quick, pow!
Selfie, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Do the Annie Oakley shot over the shoulder blind while taking the selfie.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
So yeah, he's a hunter, and he does trips like that too. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously as we're talking here, taxidermy is one of the fates that can befall one of these hunted creatures. So everybody kind of just knows what taxidermy is, where you mount a head or you like make a bearskin rug. Basically, taxidermy is you're making something out of a, like, hunted animal or a trapped animal.
Right.
But what is gaff taxidermy? Well, taxidermists refer to their made-up creations when they make something that's, like, doesn't exist in the real world. They call it gaff taxidermy. It's meant to look, and they call it that because it's meant to hook someone's attention and make them wonder. I guess it's an old-timey saying. I don't know how these work. But while many claim that taxidermy gaffs are forgeries, some gaff taxidermists disagree. Here's a little bit of the history with that. Though many gaff taxidermists are known for their mythical creations, most don't see it as a means of deceiving people. Doug Higley, renowned for his Chupacabra gaffs, which, that's awesome,
Yeah.
for example, never meant for his creations to be taken as real, but instead to let people make up their own decision about what they are. He famously calls his work the Chupacabra, with a question mark on all
I
of
heard
them,
about this.
emphasizing the importance of the question mark. Taxidermy gaffs are a fun suspension of disbelief in a taxidermist's eyes. They want people to have fun imagining mystery of their creatures rather than just being a simple statement of falsehood. Now, gaff taxidermy has not always had has not always been quite that honest and open about what it is. Mm-hmm. One of the most famous hucksters in history perpetrated what is probably the most famous piece of gaff taxidermy. That is the Fiji mermaid, which was presented by P.T. Barnum in 1842. Mm-hmm. By convincing newspapers to do stories about his real mermaid, Barnum gained legitimacy for his creation and even managed to stump naturalists for a while. In the meantime, similar mermaids popped up in other smaller sideshows. Researchers now believe that Japanese sailor made the original mermaid in 1822 by sewing a monkey torso onto a fishtail. Robert Ripley of Ripley's Believe It or Not presented the Fiji mermaid at his auditorium in the 1930s. But the presentation was debunked as a hoax, that it was not the original Fiji mermaid.
What? And it was?
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
We don't know what happened to the original Fiji mermaid, because he claimed to have it, and so everyone assumed he did, and then they carbon dated it, and it can't, or, did forensics on it, and
right.
it's definitely not the original. And we don't know what happened to it. The last they knew, at one point, they thought it had been donated to, like, the New York Natural History Museum.
Oh.
But they checked their, like, back area where they do, like, long-term store stuff.
Sure.
And they didn't find it.
Oh, I bet somebody has
Somebody swiped it.
Yeah, somebody definitely swiped it.
So they have, like, a few Gaff taxidermies at that museum, but none of them are, all of them are clearly not the original Fiji mermaid.
Wow.
Because if you see the photos of the Fiji mermaid and the one that they do have that was in that crate or whatever, it's like they're not anything alike. So It's like, yeah, not so much. Here in South Dakota, where our podcast is based, there's a little bit of, and this is across the American West, I guess. I always kind of thought this is a South Dakota thing, but apparently they're more widespread.
Oh, sure.
It's the sprightly jackalope, which is the fusion of a rabbit with a deer. Honestly, these things were around so much when I was growing up. Not the actual animal, but like people with jackalope themed stuff, like coffee mugs, hats, stuff like, or a stuffed jackalope or a mounted actual quotes in the air one. As a little kid, I didn't think they were real, but I always like took them for granted that they were just like all over the place and didn't even think of it as like a weird thing that, my dad has a couple of those in that bar downstairs.
I totally thought they were real.
Side tangent, by the way, the first animal he ever mounted and put in that basement was the albino ring-necked pheasant that he shot. So I thought
he got one too?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I thought that story was interesting when you said that. I was just like, really?
Huh. I guess they're more common. Or not. I don't know. Maybe it means that we're supposed to be friends.
There you go. I'm going to take it as that sign.
Yes.
I know the first place I seen a jackalope, and I found there are numerous ones across the country, are in Texas Roadhouse.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, if you go into Texas Roadhouse and look at the stuffed animals, you'll see jackalopes.
Nice.
Yeah, there's an antelope in there too, and it really grosses me out.
Yeah. He's watching you eat.
Not an antelope. Is it an antelope? What are those things that have like a hard shell? It's
armadillo.
Armadillo!
Not the deer.
You thought antelope? Yeah, antelopes look like kind of like a little deer.
Horned deer.
Yeah.
I should explain. I'm kind of on some weird medication right now, and I'm so tired.
Perfect.
So I'm a little weird, more than usual.
Ooh, it's part of the mystery.
Oh my gosh! Am I even here right now? What's happening? Like,
my hands can touch anything but themselves.
Oh my gosh! Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
You are okay. So yeah, yeah.
Well, now I want to go to Texas Roadhouse. That's all I can think about now. I'm kidding. I can move on. We can move on.
That's okay. We're basically talking about jackalopes here.
True,
so
true.
I mean,
No, I legitimately...
It's very serious matter. Very serious.
It's so serious. So I kind of thought that jackalopes were real, and then it wasn't until an embarrassingly old age that I realized that they were fake.
You're like, this last Saturday I was telling my husband about the topic of this show.
Oh my god. You don't want to even know. Like, okay, I was in college when I realized that jackalopes were fake because of the SDSU jackrabbit, so I thought... And I was like, yeah, they're totally... Like, I didn't... But okay, I never admitted to anybody that I thought they were real, and then it came up that they were fake, and I just low-key like, oh, yeah, like, I knew that.
So that's got to be the worst, like being embarrassed in front of your friends, that's something that happens to everybody, but truly being embarrassed in front of yourself?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's so many things that, like, I didn't find out until a really old age. Really old age, recently. Like, moniker is not pronounced monkey ear. That's a thing.
I didn't find out until I was like 30 that pumpkin is pronounced pumpkin and not pumpkin.
Oh.
And I was just like, what? And my wife is just like, yeah, you say it, it's like the most adorable thing. You always mispronounce pumpkin, and you always have, as long as I know you. And you even
I can tell you're excited. You got the cute voice right there.
Yeah, and just like, it's so adorable. And I was like, what? And I was like, Mom, because I think we were like visiting the farm and like picking up as something like that. And I was just like, well, no, we always just thought it was really cute, so nobody corrected you. It's like, I'm 30 years old.
But you'll always be my baby.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I didn't know shrapnel was a thing. That was something else. I found out at a really old age.
How did you find out?
So, okay. So, we were watching a lot of, Mythbusters.
Okay.
And also, he told me about, my husband told me about how his dad was hit with some shrapnel in the Vietnam War that had Agent Orange on it. And then that...
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and that launched this whole host of health issues with him that resulted in him getting a heart transplant and then dying like 11 years later, which was like super duper long for a guy getting a heart transplant in the 80s. So for him to live that long after getting a heart transplant, that's fantastic. So anyways, that's not the sad part. The sad part is the Agent Orange getting hit with that. And so when he told me, so he would tell me constantly about like, yeah, I got hit with shrapnel. I was just like, well, that's a fake word. Like what a weird word to say.
Oh my God.
And then eventually I called him out on it. I'm like, why do you keep saying shrapnel? He's like, and I'm like, they're saying it on TV too. That's such a dumb word. That's not even a word. And he's like, are you serious right now? I'm like, well, yeah. Then he's like, it's a thing. I'm like, no, it's not. So we had to go to like the internet, and I'm just,
oh boy.
I'm like, oh man, I'm so full of it. So yeah.
I think the funniest one of those I've ever encountered was my sister Joni. I think she had her doctorate. She was a PhD at this point. Mm-hmm. And she's gonna hate me for telling this story, but I was like, for some reason, I said something about, it was like Easter or something like that, and I was talking about, like, Jesus being Jewish, and she was like, what? I was like, Jesus was Jewish. Well, no, he wasn't. Oh my gosh. 'Cause, yeah, he couldn't be Catholic, because...
It wasn't a thing!
It wasn't a thing.
It all makes sense.
So he was Jewish. Like, so I gave her crap for years after that. I was just like, hey, Joni, Jesus was Jewish? It's like, I hate you.
Well, but she found out, now versus much later, where she's...
Before she had kids and started teaching them.
Yes. Jesus is Catholic. No, he's not. My mom says.
Adorable.
Yeah. That's funny.
But apparently, also adorable, the town of Douglas, Wyoming has an event every year on June 31st. Oh, yeah, their city for tourism releases jackalope hunting licenses.
Oh, I think I've heard of this.
But the jackalopes, they're only good for June 31st.
Nice.
Which, yeah. It's, okay, another side story here. So, one Christmas, one of my sisters got my brother, I didn't know they made these, a fake lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like scratch lottery. And... so he scratched it off, and he totally bought it hook, line, and sinker because they look pretty real.
Yeah.
He thought he'd won $25,000.
Oh no!
And he literally got up from the Christmas dinner table and did a jig and jumped up like one leg and then the other, kind of like Irish jig kind of thing,
God.
and hurt his back, and was just like, oh my God, just like you thought somebody was dying or something like that.
Oh no!
He had tears coming down his eyes. He was just so relieved and happy.
Oh no!
And he flips it over, and it's like the text on the back of the ticket is the fine print. It's hilarious because it's all like. Redeemable only in your dreams.
Right.
Send with an attached autographed copy of the Bible to Santa Claus at North Pole.
Wow,
yeah. I've heard. They have a lot of those videos on America's Funniest, and I've heard a variation where it's like prize could be redeemable at Yo Mama's house and stuff like that. But Dominic and I get so mad when we see those videos. Where we're just like, those are so mean, because you hear people proclaiming things like, yes, I can pay off my credit card debt, and thinking all this relief is coming, and then they find out that, ooh, no, it's not. So it's like, oh,
it's so sad.
So sad. I mean, it's kind of funny at first, and then it's not.
I would, on paper, I would have thought they were hilarious, but after having witnessed that Christmas, I'm just like, I wouldn't do it to my worst enemy.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, they do sell them actually at Walmart now, just in the cheap toy aisle.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah, with the yo-yos and stuff.
So I think I got one once, but I was I don't know, I just looked at it and I was like, yeah, right. And then that was the end of it. But I don't think anything, and I don't know. Just remember, yeah, it was just kind of weird.
So what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen taxidermied?
I don't know if this doesn't actually classify as taxidermy, but it threw me off. because it's common to see things hanging in bars and people's houses. It actually hunts. That's not odd. Kind of a Midwest thing. Growing up in the Midwest, it's not odd.
Oh yeah.
But there's a place here in town. I can't remember the name of it, but they started like advertising like the puppies in a jar.
That's my friend that does that.
That freaked me out. I'm like, what is that all about? Like, is this real?
Yeah.
I keep meaning to invite him on the other podcast. That's the Sioux Falls one.
He like every time he posts on social media, there's like 10% like it, and then he just gets reamed with the rest of the comments.
Waves of hate.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, holy cow.
So what it is that those puppies are actually stillborn. So they're not like they.
Right. They're like fetal pigs.
Yeah. And even like the other animals that he has, like they were already deceased. So it's not like he's going out and trying to find dead puppies. And my cousin, she actually loves his work and has purchased many items from him. And she's all like, look at my puppy. I'm like, oh no.
Right. Do you just keep it in your purse?
Like, why?
Is this your service pet?
If I'd been thinking, we would have had you invite him for this episode.
Oh,
with
sure.
Taxidermy, especially.
Yeah, shoot, we should have talked more.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, could have brought Jason
do another
on.
episode about it.
Check Patreon for that information.
Yeah,
exactly.
There we go. So yes, that's kind of the brief story about him. But I know that he definitely caused like a huge stir in the community.
Yeah, because it was like in the news and
It
everything
was.
else. Like, what is going on? Like,
I was just like, oh, Jason.
Like, how do you get a puppy in a jar? I remember there was a kind of a myth thing of my buddies and I would talk about all the time, like in high school, of a bonsai kitten.
What is a bonsai kitten?
Yeah.
A bonsai kitten is like when it's tube fed.
Okay.
In a jar. And it lives in this jar, so it actually grows to be the shape of the jar, and has another tube for it to go to the bathroom at the other end.
No.
And it's not a real thing, but you get online, Japanese people cut their pet's hair to be like shapes and all this different thing.
Oh my gosh!
If you search bonsai kitten online, you're gonna find pictures of cats with jar-shaped heads, because perfectly round.
Oh no!
And so the myth is that they keep them in jars when they're baby till they grow up, and they are perfectly cylindrical.
Oh my gosh!
Oh.
I'm really glad that that's not real.
Me too.
Because I have a lot of baby kitties.
Yeah,
that would break my heart.
It'd be a little too disturbing for me too.
God,
the most random. I've seen random taxidermy. You go to bars where they have a hat and the deer's got a hunter's cap and a cigarette in its mouth.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few Jeff Foxworthy tells jokes about going to the kind of place where where they mounted the two deer hooves and have the gun that killed the deer on the deer hooves. And I remember the Jeff Foxworthy joke about that was just here's a Remington 30-06. Sure, knock my ass in the mud and you'll love it.
Yeah, I can't even think of any other really weird taxidermy that I've ever seen besides the jar stuff. That was weird as hell.
Which I guess that kind of technically would count as taxidermy.
Yeah, I think it would.
No, it absolutely does. Yeah. I know that I go to a few horror conventions and they will. Some people will take bones of animals and stuff like that and kind of mount them. Actually, no. I do have weird taxidermy. A friend of mine, I'm going to go plug her real quick. Her shop is called Flawed Fox Creations, and it is both beautiful and grotesque all at the same time. It's like if someone who's from the Victorian area got a hold of animals and taxidermied them and mounted them on beautiful ornate frames and dress them up with cute little hats and beads and lace, and I mean it is insane, but it's beautiful, and she does a really, really good job. And I've told her, I'm just I love the work that you do, but it is not me. I could not buy it. I could not. But that's what she does, and it's just, and she gets really excited when she sees a dead squirrel nearby. She's like, yes, and she goes and snatches it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's
part of me
hilarious.
remembers a Hoarders episode or something where some old guy just collected dead animals in his freezer, deep freeze, to make them taxidermied.
No.
It was an episode, a horror version of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. There were so many taxidermied animals around him.
Yeah.
It was going into an antique store where they were just piled.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's wow. So there's the deer with the cigarette. Mine are so like tame and redneck compared to these ones you're talking about. Like the next one is my dad. So my dad has a jackalope in his bar, and then he has also got a squirrel that's butt was too fat and is stuck in the tree.
Nice.
So it's just a big mounted squirrel butt
in
this like old gnarly tree or whatever, and that's like one of the fixtures in his bar.
I think it should be dubbed Old Gnarly Tree.
I'm gonna try.
They'll just call it squirrel butt.
Squirrel butt.
Butte. Squirrel butte.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and find her stuff. I'm gonna post it on our page. But yeah, it's just bizarre.
Honestly, like, I want to know where's people's ambitions and motive, like, not now, because, I mean, I get there's a science to it and whatnot, but, like, originally, what was somebody's first idea of saying, I'm going to keep this dead animal forever?
I'm gonna guess that it's
probably
like
an trophy.
Yeah, well, like the modern, like we're talking like 1600s modern, quotes in the air, would be trophy hunting in like among the aristocracy in Europe and stuff.
But then I want to know like the trial and error of actually preserving it. Like, oh, it's up on my wall. I'll come home 2 days later and it's just kind of jello hanging on my wall.
Well, yeah, part of that is the. I mean, have you ever been to a taxidermy shop and seen how they done it?
No, I've not. How do they do it?
Okay. There is no, like...
I know there's no fluids, like, it's all drained.
Well, there's no meat.
Right.
It's literally, nowadays, it's literally a plastic cast kind of thing, and then it's basically like the skin. So basically it's a fur.
Yeah.
Because, like, the eyes are glass, the tongue is rubber, and then they a lot of airbrushing on the fur to get the color, like, just right.
Right.
And, so it's just like the antlers and the fur are like the only actual thing that go into it. Like a lot of them, the skull doesn't even go into it anymore.
Oh, wow.
But, and then that's the other thing is you can have like, because that look was really popular in the taxidermy world for a while. So my dad has a bunch of like deer skulls or elk skulls or stuff like that have like a really cool like dream catcher kind of thing airbrushed onto them.
Yeah.
And then it's just like the white skull with the painting and then the big antlers.
Oh, cool.
And so obviously that is like the real skull or whatever, but there's actually nowadays there's not a lot to it, and in the old days my understanding is that it was just like sacks of straw is what they used.
Okay.
And arsenic.
Well, do they ever put just a backing to the fur, to the skin?
Oh yeah, they tan it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Yep.
So that it's like a fur, like if you get like a rabbit skin at a like tourist shop West River or something like that. Animal furs where it's all soft on both sides, Yep. That's what they do to it. Basically, I think it's a little more
advanced.
Yeah, some taxidermist is just kind of like, this is what we do. It's like we'll write in and tell us all about it.
Yeah, really. So my brother, he works at the community museum downtown. What's it called? The Heritage Museum? Is that what it's called?
Sure.
The Courthouse Museum. That's what it is.
Museum.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I told you I'm out of it. So, so when I first toured there, and I was like in 4th grade, I was kind of by myself touring the museum, and I took a wrong turn, and I came face to face with this huge ass buffalo, and it freaked me the fuck out. And I'd been terrified of ever setting foot back into that museum again because of this buffalo. Well, then fast forward several years later, and now I see this buffalo again. I'm just like, that's the buffalo, and it was a lot smaller, which good because now I remember. Like now I was pretty little, so I pointed out to my brother, and he was like, "Yeah, don't touch that because that's covered in arsenic, and that's just really dangerous." But they still keep it there because it's an antique now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you go down to the Courthouse Museum, you can see that buffalo that scared the pants off of me. And then there was another one that I was going to bring up. But
I like the bears and stuff at Shields.
Oh, yeah, but those aren't taxidermied, are they? Are those fake? I thought that they'd be
the
fake.
bears at Shields?
Yeah.
Those would be real.
You think? Yeah.
The fur and stuff feels oily, like real.
To reiterate, you shouldn't touch taxidermied animals because they are like toxic, mildly.
Well, they have this set up as like a photo booth type thing.
So that's why I'm guessing it's probably fake.
Okay, that may be because I'm gonna confess I haven't seen the bears you're talking about. Like, but like when you see them mounted in those big displays that are fenced off and stuff like at Cabela's, where they'll have like a whole mountain of animals and stuff. Yeah. That's all real.
Right. You're really just walking into a pet cemetery.
I know! All the dead animals.
It's kind of like Toy Story. You should see what happens when they close the doors at night.
It'd be like Night at the Museum.
Exactly. It is terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Dead animal bodies, between like growing up around that and then like when I go back for Christmases, usually my siblings that have kids get all the spare bedrooms downstairs. Mm-hmm. So I'm usually on a futon out underneath all of the mounted animals. So I literally I fall asleep and the elk is like, let me put it this way, I can't sit up completely straight in the futon or I will hit the very, very bottom of the elk.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I sleep beneath the severed head of the elk.
I can't handle that. You know what? I can handle sleeping in Dominic's office with all of the like blood and like the horror pictures and like Jason's and Freddy's surrounding me. Like, I'm fine there. I cannot handle the dead animals.
I remember watching, and I always laughed at it, Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It has that guy with the working for, I can't even remember all their characters' names now. The bad guy, basically one of his assistants or workers, whatever, was always afraid to go into that trophy room where it's full of taxidermy and stuff. Like, he'd walk in there just shaking and, like, staring at the walls, carrying a shotgun.
Oh, man. I don't blame him.
And at the end, a bear fell on him and scared him, and he gave up.
Aw. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Is this night taxidermy that you have here in the office?
No, that would not be. That has never been alive and it's never been real, so not taxidermy.
You know of.
You could have.
That we know of.
Could have went along with it and said, yeah, it is.
It would have been a really tiny night.
That would have been very macabre.
How do you know there's really not a man in there?
Well, one, for Halloween, I put a gigantic LED remote control light display inside of the head. Because I figured out the head is actually just attached to the neck and shoulders is just solid. You can't drop stuff all the way through him.
Oh, wow.
But it's still deep enough that I can't get that light thing back out of there to change the batteries. So, lesson learned.
I feel so bad for you. That sucks.
It's okay. It's
Is my arm
Can you just like turn it
small
upside down and like shake it out?
I hadn't thought of that, actually. I could try that.
Just never owned a guitar before?
No, I have never owned a guitar before. But you're right, that's what they do for a guitar pick.
Yeah. So. That's what I would have done. I'm like, oh, here it goes, upside down. Shake,
See,
shake.
my answer was I was going to get a stick with... This is a really interesting radio. I was going to get a stick and put some tape on the end of it, and I was just going to get that way, because that's how I get the pennies that keep falling into my my plug-in in my car for my for my phone charger. I have a bunch of change in there, and now it started to like fall into the cigarette lighter thing.
Oh, I dropped a dime in it once, and it actually sparked and arced across. Like, I wouldn't think that.
Ooh.
I've never seen it happen, and one time it actually arced across. And I'm like, well,
arced like, where did it arc? Like,
well, there's still a positive and negative in there.
Well, yeah.
And somehow it fell just right, like it like scorched that dime. And I'm like, well, I'm not reaching in to get that anymore. So
if I'd known it could actually do that, I probably wouldn't have been as zealous as I was when I pursued that in like cramming my probably metal rod thing that I was using to try and get the penny out of there.
Yeah.
I'm glad you lived to tell the tale.
I don't think you'd actually feel it, but I mean, still.
Yeah, it's a car battery. It just like it might hurt you, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Unless it like hits your heart just right or something like that. But
Give you a good jolt.
Like if somebody throws it at you and it hits your heart.
Yeah, like that.
Because I couldn't do it. Those things are heavy. Okay, question. If you could taxidermy anything, what would the two things be? If you could join them together.
Join them together?
Or multiple things.
Weird.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with to make a convincing Quetzalcoatl, where it's a snake that's completely covered in tropical bird feathers and looks like it can fly. Or I'm going to go with, keeping in my theme of birds here, I'm going to get, I don't remember what this creature is called from Greek mythology, but it's the cock. It's a chicken with like slightly bigger claws, and then its head is like 3 feet of snake neck and a snake head.
Oh,
and it's, I forget. I've seen them on like sigils and stuff.
Cockatrice? No.
Yeah, that sounds close to it.
Okay.
But yeah, I've seen those before in like frescoes and old stuff like that, and I'm just like, that would be cool. But I think I'm going with the Quetzalcoatl. Kind of keeps with my Central America theme that I have with stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
What about you?
I want to do something like amphibious.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I don't know. It'd have to be like a frog mixed with like, to make sense, a beaver, because a beaver likes water.
Yeah, we didn't even even get into like fish stories.
Yeah.
We talked about like, you know, the mermaids or whatever being like part fish, but the whole mounting fish thing is like a all world of its own, because I don't even like that. I've never seen taxidermied. I don't know how they do that. If that's
taxidermied fish freak me the fuck out.
Yeah, they're weird, especially like. God, I remember when we were growing up, Grandpa Robert was before Dad had so much stuff he didn't know what to do with, and he just had like 6 deer heads and like the pheasant and some geese and a bunch of stuff like that. There was one big panel of the wall that was Grandpa Robert's biggest fish he ever got, and that was stayed in there for probably like 10 years before he finally took that back and put that in his cabin in Rapid City. But it's a big northern, and the way it's mounted, it's like you could see inside of it and see the gills, and you can like see like all the way back into it and stuff, and just like that was always wild. When I was a kid, I was always super fascinated with that.
Yeah. I know I always like seeing like swordfish, stuff like
those
that.
are cool.
Oh yeah, huge fishes. Yeah, I don't know what I would taxidermy. Probably something funny like a spider and a monkey. You know,
that'd be cool.
So they have spider monkeys already.
But I know, but like an actual like spider monkey.
But like a D&D spider monkey.
Yeah.
Where it's
Right. I got
the actual like bottom half of a anthropod.
Right, like a scorpion and a bunny, you know, or like a scorpion and a hamster. That would look pretty screwed up.
Like the monkey torso with like giant spider legs wrapping around it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm kind of amazed that we didn't like veer off into mummies at some point in this, but I figure part of it is that topic is. Well, for one thing, there's like a million kinds of mummies, so it's like we'll probably do episodes that are like just the Mayan mummies, just the Inca ones, just the Egyptian, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's so much to do about. I mean, there's whole Egyptology. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole like subset of things around that.
There's one guy I'm thinking of that I figured I'd do an episode about him at some point, but he, when I think of him, I think of taxidermy, and I'm trying to remember because of what he is. He's the one at like, is it Cambridge University or where he had he came up with he invented his own technique to preserve his head and to preserve his body, and he donated his body to the university, and he was one of these great thinkers of the Enlightenment, and he thought it was a waste that we throw bodies into the ground just to rot because they're like fascinating machines and stuff.
Sure.
So he came up with this idea that you would have symposiums with the dead where you would preserve the bodies of your like great thinkers and, you know, like famous professors and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
And then you'd bring them out at special occasions having to do with their topic, like Egyptology or whatever they studied, physics, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you'd have like someone speak for and represent the body, but have them like sitting in station in the lecture or whatever, and people debate the issue back and forth and stuff like that. And I'm trying to remember what the guy's name is. It's like, how do you even Google something like that?
Yeah, right.
Body.
I know that there was like a reality show.
Jeremy Bentham. That's who I'm thinking of. And I love that the first article that comes up is Jeremy Bentham's preserved corpse will haunt your nightmares. Yeah, the dead body at the Hall of London University. So, the thing that went wrong is they have so in keeping with his will and his, you know, like grand scheme or whatever.
Yeah.
They have his body in a cabinet, but it's a wax head, but it is like his mummified body or whatever. And so they will bring it out. I think on Halloween they bring it out and they do a symposium.
Oh,
about
like he wanted.
Idea, like he wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
But he came up with this technique with all this like wax and weird stuff to preserve his head, to make it look, supposedly look preserved good. And, yeah, it did not turn out so well. So they still have his head, and that's on a platter that's like not displayed or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's
haunt your nightmares.
It is nightmare fuel, like to the extreme, because it looks worse than if they'd just let it like decompose into like a skull.
Aw,
wow.
shoot!
Because it looks like basically like like terrible pose and brown but waxy and it's really gross.
Shoot. Yeah, gross. There was something that came up on my Atlas Obscura calendar that was something like that, where all that they could keep was like the head, and then they had a picture of the head on my calendar. I'm like, why would you put that on a desk calendar?
The third article here is an Atlas Obscura article. I bet it was Jeremy Bentham.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, the head of... Oh, there you go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I bet this is the guy. And those are clearly glass eyes, but yeah, the head is super gross.
Well...
Wow.
It's like if it was made out of clay and then someone just slapped it really hard.
Why? Why did I look at that? Ugh.
Well, have you guys ever heard of the, the human body?
I have.
No. It's like, there's like a name for it. It's like the Human Body Expo or whatever, and it's like...
Bodies.
And so, it's like basically they're just like a bunch of different bodies like that they've taxidermied in a sense, so you can see like the different...
Down the road, we will do a whole episode about bodies because it's extremely controversial.
Yes.
And there's a whole bunch of mystery as to where those bodies came from and their identities and stuff like that. Because the German designer guy that created the bodies display, it was a really big controversy because he bought them as medical supplies from China.
Oh.
And it's very probably... We're going to give it like an 80% that they were like political prisoners who were just like executed by the Chinese government. Oh. And then, when they do that, they don't let your family have your body or whatever. And then usually they'll sell it. Like that's how China does their organ donation system that they'll just take out a political prisoner, execute them, and give their organs to like a party member or something like that. I mean, they're just like... We always think of like China's a big trade partner and we forget about Tiananmen Square and stuff like that. Sure. It's still pretty fucked up over there as far as their justice system and stuff like that. So, like, the EU, like the World Court and stuff like that, they went after the German guy that designed bodies specifically because they're like, this violates our universal code of human rights because there's no way these people consented to this and to have their bodies sold and then preserved forever for a display and stuff like that.
Wow.
And, I don't know how it was resolved, but yeah. And that's part of the reason I had a chance to see it, and Amanda really wanted to see it when we were in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's silly, but I have like a moral objection to that show and that display.
See, like when it came to Sioux Falls, I was like, I really want to see that, but I just never got the time to go.
Sure.
And I was just thinking how cool that all these people donated their bodies to science for the purpose of research, et cetera, et cetera.
And I'm wondering if the new display, if like they've updated it, and if it is now it's people that were donated,
right?
But
because I know
originally when it premiered and it was like touring Europe and stuff like that, the original designer and creator of it, I just remember, I think it was the 90s, but I want to say like the early aughts, it just being a really big media kerfuffle about where the bodies came from.
Because I know when, like down at like USD, they have a cadaver lab, and like all those people definitely said like hard yes, I want my body used for scientific purposes, so do whatever you want to it. Within reason. So, I mean, so that's why I thought, like, oh, well, that makes sense that this is probably a product of a similar program where people just said, yeah, well, I'm not using my body after I die. Do whatever. But that makes it a whole lot different if they didn't consent. Basically kind of forced into it.
Yeah, I'm on their website, and there's absolutely no... Surprise, surprise, there's absolutely nothing about how that works as far as the legal part of it for the bodies. It just lists the cities where they have displays going. Las Vegas and Atlanta, Georgia. Buy your tickets now.
That sounds so gross.
Yeah.
But some people are into that things. Well, I don't know. Not I.
Yeah, like they've got... Okay, yeah, I need to stop looking at that. But
So, we were going to talk about the Banff Mermaid.
Yeah.
Merman. So this Miss Merman is actually in Banff, Alberta, Canada, and I'm just kind of reading off of my calendar from Atlas Obscura, because it sums it up really nicely. It says, in a glass case at the Banff Indian Trading Post is what looks like the back end of a snapper fish glued to the top half of a desiccated monkey. And honest to God, that's exactly what it looks like. Tufts of white hair cling to the 3-foot-long, 0.9 meter creature's emaciated form. One webbed hand reaches out as if in the throes of death. A maniacal grin bears 2 rows of tiny, pointed teeth. This is the Banff Merman. The legend of the merman begins with Norman K. Luxton, a founder of the Indian Trading Post and the sign of the Goat Curio Shop. Accounts of its origin differ, but following a failed around-the-world canoe trip, which that doesn't surprise me that it would fail. Around 1915, Luxton either caught or bought the hokey-looking man-beast, or maybe he just built it himself. So nobody's quite sure like how he got a handle on this merman or where it came from, but it's kind of like the P.T. Barnum merman. It just looks really super duper interesting, but it says that mummified mermaids have a long history with some dating back centuries, but they really hit their stride as part of the P.T. Barnum circuit back in 1845. And then Luxton's mermaid came about in 1915, so what is that, like 30 years later?
Something like that.
Yeah. No, wait, that's way longer.
It's way longer.
That's way longer. I'm surprised nobody said anything. Thank you. Let's see. But today there are several mummified mermaids to be found of various appearances and origins, from Japanese temples to Seattle's Ye Old Curiosity Shop. But Banff may have the only merman. So this is a male one versus everything else being female.
So that's what's special about the Banff merman.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's kind of funny. I kind of think he might have. I think he might have just made it himself. I mean, it looks really gross.
It passed that.
And
test.
it looks like some guy who's really bad at crafts kind of put it together.
Yeah, that's the reaction I had with that one, is that it is not well made. So
yeah.
It's like if I tried to make a mermaid.
Right.
So following up, because I brought that up, I wanted to follow up with facts about the bodies display. That controversy is not settled at all.
Oh no.
Concerns have been raised about the prevalence of the bodies. Let's see. In 2005, the U.S. Florida Attorney General expressed opinion that state's board approval should be required for this display. They fought against having an exhibit in Tampa, Florida. So literally, it's at where it's at in some places because they passed laws against it.
Oh wow.
And a lot of this relates to, in 2006, the New York Times and 2020 teamed up and did a investigation showing that a lot of it was black market. So it wasn't even the government, like political prisoners. It was just like black market. So we have no idea where they came from. Chinese cadavers.
Oh, that's sad.
And I didn't realize, because I've never seen the display, they have children. And so the Catholic Church has raised concerns about, how did they get children cadavers, and the children can't really consent to that. And,
right.
And it goes on with, after the 2020 investigation, and an investigation by New York Attorney General at the time, Andrew Cuomo, the display's CEO, Arnie Geller, had to resign in disgrace. There was a investigation and subsequent settlement in 2008. Let's see. This article says that the front page of the exhibition website has a disclaimer about the origins of the bodies and stuff like that, talking about this, but I was just on their site and could not find the disclaimer, so I wonder if the heat has died down enough 10 years later
sure.
that it's not as big a deal or something. But because there's nothing on their website that I see about it, but there's clearly a lot here. Rumors of organ harvesting from Falun Gong members in China, and ugh.
Oh, that really breaks my heart. That's
as late as 2017 in the Czech Republic, there was a giant outcry by medical professionals in Prague about the exhibition coming there.
I believe it. I mean, if it's that shady and that controversial, basically they can't tell you where these bodies came from. You know?
Yeah, and after the 2020 investigation, apparently there's a really good chance that they were, like, not ethically sourced.
Yeah, shoot.
It's like, you know, most people are like, they want ethically sourced, like, chicken and stuff like that. And I'm just like, these are people, for God's sake.
Right.
I wonder what the odds are of, like, part of, like, that settlement they mentioned is that they switched out and it's not even real anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
With the possibility of just not actually releasing that information publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it wouldn't be impossible to fake, but...
Right. But there's a lot of things, too, like, that it could technically be listed as a science thing in the...
Oh, that's how they market it, is that it's a science thing.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that could be where they get their licensing and it's all actually permitted, that they could come from donors, essentially, organ donors.
Right.
Yeah, I'm wondering if going forward they did that or how that worked. But like I said, according to this, no, they have not. I mean, they basically did an undisclosed settlement with the state of New York and closed their display there, and now they have one in Atlanta, Georgia, and one in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't really even know what to think. Like, hopefully, you know, it gets shut down, but I kind of like, but it's also fascinating too.
It might be a follow-up episode on that one, just as we like learn more about it. Because I mean, it's a controversy I knew was out there, but until we were talking about taxidermy, it didn't cross my mind.
Right.
But yeah, so I wonder what other sideshow taxidermy and stuff like that. I mean, there's lots of sideshow taxidermy, obviously. Travis, in your wanderings, have you encountered any like interesting sideshow taxidermy?
I haven't, but it makes me think though, like when you said the word sideshow, like what is going to happen to people like the Enigma that have altered their bodies so much? Like, are they going to want themselves to actually be on display and stuff?
Oh,
right. Well, I mean, he tattooed like his entire body.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you want to you know, I don't know. He came to Sioux Falls once a while ago.
He's here quite often, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
That'd be pretty funny if he was just like, no, I want a proper Christian burial and my body is not to be disturbed. And yeah, it's like, absolutely not. You know?
That's
funny. Because, I mean, I've seen people who have done other lizard alterations where they've split their tongue and all different things like that. And I've always wondered, like, what are you going to do with that later when you get old? Like, it's going to be weird. Like, I know one half of it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I think that a lot about body modification stuff. I'm always just like...
Yeah. There's a lot of people I see when they have, like, the big gauges and stuff.
Yes,
like, you know how terrible that's going to look when you're, like, 60?
Yeah, exactly.
Like...
I always think about that, too. And even, like there are a lot of interns starting right now where I work, and a few of them have taken out their gauges, because I don't know what our policy is on that, but I think it was literally, like, their first couple days, so I think they're kind of erring on the side of caution.
I'm going to confess ignorance. What is a gauge?
It's like the big hole in the ear.
That's what those are?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I have a friend...
Because I've seen someone where it must have, like, fell out or ripped out at some point, and so literally just two teared things of flesh
I had
on
a
their ear.
friend who did it himself. He got his ear pierced. And, like, the way they say to stretch it out, like, if you're going to do it yourself, use, like, synthetic, like, brooms and, like, the little bristles on the broom and cut them short. And, like, every day or so, just add, like, 2 or 3 extra bristles to stretch it out to the size that you want.
Oh, I see. Sure.
So that was no discomfort or pain or anything like that. And, like, the actual plastic piece they put in there.
Yeah.
But one thing I've always wanted to do, but again, it goes back to where I don't want to be deformed when I get older.
Yeah.
Because Robert's seen me do the needle through the hand, where I legit put a needle all the way through my hand, through the back and out the front. One of the things I want to do is actually thread 2 hands together and have like a card or a prediction in between where it's impossible for me to get to.
Yeah.
And get somebody to pick what's hidden inside my hand and have them cut the strings and pull the strings out through my hand. But in order to do it, I have to gauge my hand. Like, how legit would that be if I had like a legit hole in my hand all the time?
Oh my God. And I'm like staring at your hands.
But at the same time, like, I don't want a hole in my hand like all the time. I only want it there for this one moment.
Nothing good could come of that.
I mean, other than
if you go to catch water in your hand or something like that, it falls out through the middle.
But think the thing, like, if I'm driving or riding in a car, I could literally put my hand on a cup with a straw and not spill. No matter how many bumps I hit.
Oh God!
Like,
I'd love you get pulled over with that, and then just be like, you know what? Just keep going. Just keep going.
You know,
get out of town.
right?
I can just hear your memoir now. Like, I just really wanted to do it for the one time.
Right?
That was it. I just wanted the one reaction.
Yeah. And if somebody ever told me, like, cover your eyes, I'm like, I'm not peeking. Like,
Oh man!
I really, really want to figure out how to thread my hand together, or at least, like, thread a fist shut.
Flip a coin and be like, heads or tails?
Yeah, right? We don't know. Cut the string.
Wait, so like,
Right through the hole there.
so like, basically, you can pierce through your hand,
Yeah.
and it's safe.
Yeah. A little hesitation there, but yes.
Yeah.
Because I
You sound like the guy.
I feel like I
You
just
sound like
lied
the
to my
guy at the
mom.
tattoo shop selling that to someone. It's like, so this is like safe and medically approved, right? Yeah.
So is your hand? Can you say if your hand's pierced? Like, is it your hand's not pierced?
No,
is
my
it?
hand's not pierced. It heals, and
Oh,
I just did a post prom show like last month, and I did 3 back-to-back shows, and I did it like 3 times within 3
Were you
hours.
like,
don't you bleed though?
Nope,
Really?
not the way he does it?
not the way I do it.
Well, that just.
There's a part in your hand that's almost dead center. If you follow your middle finger and index finger down, the tendons to the middle of your hand,
Yeah.
right in between those tendons, if you press and relax your hand, you'll find like a little cavity.
Yeah.
That's all cartilage, so there's no blood flow or anything through there.
Oh.
I figured it had to be something like that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of what I wondered too.
So it's all 100% legit. There's been times where I've missed, I've hit tendons, I've hit bone. Like I've put it in the center of my hand and it comes out over by my thumb because it like hits something and curves, and then it bleeds, which is not good.
Oh, and you're like, sorry guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to cut the show short.
It's just
Yeah.
awkward.
But you sterilize everything, right?
Yeah. I used to because I wanted to be a very very serious.
I liked your response there too. Yeah.
So I used to, okay? I used to have like an actual alcohol swab, and like my needles were hermetically sealed and all that stuff because I wanted to come across as a very serious thing.
Yeah.
Now my alcohol swab that's on the table,
Yeah.
I open the needle, show the needle, I tear open the swab, and while I'm doing it, I say, it's very important that I'm safe here. I need to make sure everything is clean. So then I remove my glasses, and the alcohol swab is actually a lens wipe.
Oh my
And
God.
I say, I need to be able to see what I'm doing, guys.
You're
So
such a cheese ball.
So it
That
builds
is
up
awesome.
this moment of
Right.
he's sterilizing. Oh, wait, no, he's cleaning his glasses.
That makes sense. I buy that.
Nice.
So-
Oh my God.
But it is 100% real.
Does it hurt? It doesn't really hurt.
No, the first time I did it, of course, I was very slow and nervous
Yeah.
doing it. But the first time I actually got it all the way through my hand, it was like the most euphoric feeling ever. Like my hand had felt like it just had an hour massage.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's like an acupuncture.
Yeah, like
kind of
super
thing.
acupuncture, and you're
Super
just like,
acupuncture, yeah.
you're like, I can do everything with this hand.
Yeah, like, Doc, put one in my back and just bring it through the chest, man. Just take care of me for the month.
Oh my gosh. So okay, so how many times did you practice the hand thing before you like showed people like, hey, look at this weird thing I can
Well,
do?
I'm the type of person like, okay, this could go terribly wrong, and if it does, I want people to see it.
You
So-
did it live in front of people?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person where I need to rehearse that shit before.
Yeah, it was just like the first time I ate a light bulb. Like, I really don't want to.
Okay,
Yeah.
you ate a light bulb.
More of the time.
Oh yeah,
than I
that's
like
like
to admit.
that's like his most famous bit
That's like
for on the podcasts because we were so obsessed with it the first time he came on.
Yeah.
And we were all like trying to guess how he did it.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to guess
Is it candy?
that it was a sugar
Yeah.
candy glass.
Yeah.
And so when I said that, he's just like, "Well, I tell you what, you pick the light bulb." And
What did you just carry light bulbs for snacks?
No, no, like, it was thought out, like,
Oh,
whatever,
sure.
so.
So okay, what happens when they get rid of all the incandescent bulb or like the halogen? You know what I mean? Like they're switching now to all of the.
I can still do, like, a wine glass or something like that. It's just, I prefer to do a light bulb because I can show it on stage if I do it in a performance that I
when they
actually
break,
like.
they sound really cool.
Yeah, and when I chew it, it sounds really cool.
And they'll never 100% be rid of incandescent light bulbs completely because there are just uses where they have to have them.
Sure. So when do you swallow it?
Yeah, that's part of eating it. I don't say, look, I'm chewing this. Alright, I'm done.
But so then, what's it like when you pass it through your
It
system?
turns out I'm not wearing a tie at all. It's tying, see.
Yeah. So what happens when you pass it through your system? Like, what happens to the glass in your body?
So,
I need to know.
Here's the science
Surgery.
behind it. Here's the science behind it.
Please.
Glass is simply made out of sand.
Yes.
Okay, so if you chew it fine enough, it just returns back to sand.
No.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's just a really fine powder, but you have to chew it a lot.
Are you like 1, 2, like are you counting off your chews as you're chewing it?
No, I just keep going until it feels like I just took a spoonful of sugar, basically. Like it's real grainy in my mouth.
Oh.
And then just swish it down with some water.
Yeah.
And I'm good. But glass only cuts in a slicing motion.
Right.
Okay, so I have to chew directly, like my teeth straight up and down. I can't like chew like I'm chewing food where it grinds. And I can't use my tongue to swish it around to put it in place.
Yeah.
And like if it runs on my cheek, I can't like suck on my cheeks or whatever, pull it back in. So once it's completely chewed, I fill my mouth full of water. I swish it around, let the water and everything take care of it, and then just throw it back and swallow. Now, there was an instance, because I got to a point where I let my audience choose, the glass and all the other things.
Yeah.
And the one time they chose a fairly large piece of glass.
That was dumb. Why'd you bring that?
And so, well, now I have a way out of that if they do that again.
Okay.
Because it takes so long to actually chew it. I don't do the entire light bulb. I'm like, just break it, pull out a piece, and I eat it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so they gave me a fairly large piece. And I'm like, well, I'm on stage. I can't back down.
Yeah.
So let's eat this whole thing. And it took a while, and I was in a hurry. And I'm like, audience is getting bored, so let's just swallow. So the next day, like, I pooped glass. Like, that was a legit terrible, terrible experience.
Was it really painful and bloody, or was it just like...
It wasn't painful. Like, I pooped, and then a little graphic here. Like, when I went to wipe, I was like, oh, there's glass.
Shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So now when they pick a big piece of glass, I break it, and I'm like, here, you want some? And then I have my smaller piece that won't take as long to chew on stage.
Gotcha.
And it's not like a fear or I can't do it. I just don't want to be up there chewing glass for 10 minutes.
Like, give me a sec, guys. This is going to be a little bit. But you can't really talk because it's...
I like how the deterrent for that is more stagecraft than it is actual, like, safety about eating that much glass.
Right, yeah. And the funny thing is, the first time I did it, like, I'm not going to do it. Like, the first time I do this, I want to do it on stage. Like, the only way to prepare yourself to do it is to read how to do it.
Right.
Okay, so I did that. Like, I was mentally prepared much more than I actually thought I really needed to be.
Yeah.
And then, like, all right, I'm not doing it until stage time because if it goes wrong, I only want to mess up once. And then it went so well, everybody's like, you ate a light bulb, you ate a light bulb. And then it's like every show I'm eating a light bulb now.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, all right, well, here goes the light bulb.
So now you just eat the glass part. You're not eating like the...
Yeah, I don't eat the metal.
The metal part. Okay, that was my other question.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty sure you weren't eating the metal. But
That wouldn't come out well.
No, that definitely wouldn't end up well. If
it did, I'd have to, like, unscrew it, so...
You would have to swallow it a certain way.
Yeah.
Even then, you'd still run the risk of a lot of internal damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Taxidermy.
Taxidermy.
Sorry.
If they ever cut me open, they'll find a lot of scar
Interesting
tissue.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that means you had an interesting life.
There you
Which
go.
means that you'll be, like, front and center in the body's display.
Perfect.
Just don't take a trip to China.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I hope they'd have to, like, flip me inside out.
To show all the glass shards?
Yeah. Like, this is Glass Man. I can go with that.
Do you tell your doctor that you eat glass?
I told my dentist.
Oh, and what'd your dentist say?
They're like, we wouldn't recommend that. I'm like, I know you wouldn't recommend. Like, when I go in to talk to my dentist, I'm like, here's the deal. This is what I do for my profession. Do not lecture me about my teeth because, like, the enamel and everything is, like, so scratched up and so gone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like, basically, like, the left and right back half of my teeth are just terrible. Like, they're all there.
Yeah.
They're just in terrible, terrible condition.
So dentures are in your future?
Yeah, the first time I actually did the glass eating, it was like 3 weeks before I felt a cavity coming on.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, I am just getting this tooth pulled because I am not having glass stuck inside that cavity.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so when I went to the dentist, I said, you need to pull the tooth. And they're like, do you want us to cap it or anything? I'm like, no, just pull it. And they're like, well, why? And I'm like, first I need to know, is it going to be healed within 3 weeks? And they're like, well, yeah, you'll be able to chew and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm eating glass. And they're like, what? I'm like, I don't want like pack my gums with glass and then it heals over it, and I have to deal with that. So I need
This
to
has
know.
been most metal conversations with your dentist ever.
Right? Yeah. That's actually what Zach Tenebo said because we performed it in Premonition Live at the Orpheum, and that was the first time I did it. And he's like, "Dude, what if it goes wrong?" I'm like, "Then I'm gonna bleed on stage." And he's like, "Dude, that's so metal."
Oh, you're so lucky it went right.
But he does it now. I'm pretty sure he does.
Oh, does he do that?
Yeah, I don't think he does it as often as I do. But
I was gonna say.
I've seen a
like,
couple.
That's
things.
your bit. You're gonna have beef with him if he takes that too far.
I didn't know he was doing it, and I seen him post something on social media about it, like I eat a light, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, all right, that's fair because I'm tired of doing it.
You're like, honestly, I'd like to outsource the light bulb eating portion.
Right?
At this point, for me, it's mundane, so it's like, it's like middle of your show, and this is my intern Molly. It's her first day. She'll be eating a light bulb.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty nuts. So it's amazing what the body can handle. So.
It is.
Cool. I learned a lot of things.
One of the things I want to do is I seen a guy. He actually took like a clear plastic tube, like almost like an aquarium tube.
Yeah.
He put it through his nose, out his mouth, which isn't. I mean, people do that. But it was like 50 feet of it, and then he like completely wrapped himself with it, and then plugged it into a milk pitcher on top of a ladder, and then posed like a living statue and opened the valve, and the milk went through all these tubes in his nose and then squirted it out of his mouth and filled a cup. So he looked like he looked like a fountain statue. I'm like, that is awesome. And then he drank it in the end, which people think is gross, but it's still inside the tube the whole time.
Yeah, it never really like touched the body part. It just touched the tube.
Yeah, so I have such like a terrible gag reflex. Like I want to do it because I can already do the nail in the nose. But I want to like do the tube, but I'm like, that would be so awesome.
Oh my gosh. I just need a minute.
Yeah.
Next time we record, I'll do the needle for you.
Okay. That's fair.
So I think we're gonna wrap this episode up.
Yes.
Enough tangents and craziness and.
I think we're gonna take that conversation and make that our epilogue, if that's cool with you guys.
Totally fine.
Hell yeah. So. Welcome back. We're going to wrap up this episode for you, but be sure to check out Macabre Grimoire on Patreon if you'd like to hear a whole bunch of stuff about different body modification things and body tricks that Travis has done, and little behind the scenes on some, body horror magic? That's not right. And I'd call it blood magic, but it was bloodless.
It's actually called geek magic.
Oh, sure, because a geek, like, from a freak show. Okay.
Yeah. So it's geek magic. So how about this? How about I get some video up and we'll put that on our Patreon and be doing some geek magic
That'd be
stuff.
cool.
That would
the
be
cool
very
thing about
cool.
it, it's not even really geek magic because 90% of it's legit. So geek stunts, I guess.
There you go.
You should put up on the Patreon too that I do dream interpretations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So cool.
So thanks for listening, everybody. And next time, speaking of magic, we're gonna take a historical deep dive on a obscure and very weird magician from the turn of the century who crosses paths with a number of great and famous magicians, including Harry Houdini.
Yeah.
And it's a really fascinating history, and we will tell you all about it next time on Macabre Grimoire.
Macabre Grimoire is a production of theSueEmpire.com. Learn more at macabregrimoire.com.